Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am solving LeetCode problem number 21, merge two sorted lists. So we are given two lists and both of these are sorted, and what we have to do is merge these two lists and the resulting list should also be sorted. Now one constraint we are given is that the list should be made by splicing together the nodes of the first two lists, which means that we just need to rearrange the arrows so that we get the final result. But we are not allowed to create a new node and then create a list from that node. So we could actually solve this problem by using DFS, that is depth first search. So what are we doing is we break down our problem into sub problems. So initially we are given list 1 and list 2, right? And then we find which one is smallest. So we check, is list 1 value smaller than or equals to list 2 value? If yes, then we need to find the next, which is the next value of this one, because it should come before any of these. If it's less than if this value is less than this value is obviously less than this, then we need to figure out, should this value be the next or should be the next this node will be pointing to. So that is when we subdivide our problem into this sub list and this list, and then we try to identify which is the next smallest node among these two nodes, and then we return the smallest one to the next of these, and then finally we get our answer. And one more thing is to find the edge case. So edge case would be, suppose I have reached the end of this node and I have reached, like I have completed executing all of the traversing all of the nodes, and now I have reached the null pointer here, but I'm still at this node here. So at that time list 1 is empty, right? List 1 is null. When we traverse to our DFS, list 1 becomes null. So at that time we just return list 2, because no matter how long the list 2 is, it will always be greater than the list that we have already created so far. So let me write my code now. And now we check which node is less. If list node 1 val is less than or equals to list 2 val, then we have to figure out the next of list 1. So we call our function again by changing our problem into sub problem, and then we return list 1. So what am I doing here is, I just clarify it once more. Okay, so I'll clarify it once more. My code is still incomplete. Let me complete it before that so that you don't get confused. List 2, I'll just change the value here. Okay, so what I'm doing is, these are the edge cases, and the next thing is I'm checking the value of list 1. List 1 is less than equals to list 2, then I need to find which is the value that will be the next to list 1, and then I return list 1, because now I have updated list 1, so I have to return list 1. And similarly for the case of list 2, let me just show you from an example, that would be much easier for you to understand, because it was easier for me to understand. I will show you an example of this by changing some of the values in the problem here. Now this is our list 1 and this is our list 2, and we are pointing list 1 is equals to 0 and list 2 is equals to 1, so 0 is of course less than 1, right? So this condition is met, and now we find our list 1 that next, so we send list 1 next and list 2, because now we need to figure which of these nodes are smallest, which one among these two lists I have the smallest node, so that would be the next of this 0, right? Now I call my merge to list again with these two lists, and now here list 2 is smaller than list 1, right? So this one is satisfied, and now I find the next of list 2. So for the next of list 2, I send list 2 next, that is this much, and the list 1 which is here right now. So my list 1 is this, my list 2 is currently here, so these are my list 1, these are my list 2. Now again list 1 is less than list 2, right? So now I need to find the next of this one here, so I send my sub list which is 4 and then list 2. Now list 2 is less 1 here, so this function is set, this condition is satisfied. Now I need to find the next of list 2 next of 3, so I send list 2 next and list 1, and then so list 2 next is 4 and a 4. Now 4 is equals to 4, so I just take list 1 next of list 1, and then I need to find next of this one, so I then recall my function with the next, which is equals to null. So list 1 is null here, then since it is null we return list 2, so here we get a value 4. I'm returned with a value of 4, I mean the list 4, so list 4 becomes the next of 4 here, so I'll just write it down here. 4 becomes the next of 4 here, and now this 4 was called from here, right, from this function, so the next of list 2 which was at index 3 becomes the next becomes this result, so 3 next is this. Now this function, this value is returned to this one here because we called that function from here, because we are returning this value, so list 2 is returned to this value here because we called it from here, right? So now next of 2 next is equals to that value, and now again we called 1 next here, right? So we receive the value returned from here, which is the list 1, and then the next of 1 becomes 1, and then similarly next of 0 becomes 0 because we called next of 0 from here, and then finally we return our list 1. So this is our final answer.